So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Donner Party and the Mormons. These were two different migrant groups coming from the United States in the East and trying to settle or colonize a small part of what they regarded as the West. Okay, now the purpose of learning about these two groups from the point of view of the specification is to understand, first of all, the problems that settlers faced, that colonizers faced in going west, and the difficulties of that journey, and to understand that it was hard for those groups. And of course, the Donner Party represent the kind of extreme example of that, and also to understand how those problems were overcome by these early settlers, and the Mormons obviously represent the example of that. Now, just a reminder, if I go back through my slides here, a reminder that at this point in the 1840s, the United States still not quite looks like this. It's brought Texas into the United States in 1844, 45, which kind of occupies this area here. But by and large, much of this grey area still remains outside of the control of the United States. Under Mexican control, it would be 1848 when that will change. And so what we've got with the Donner Party and the Mormons are two groups trying to cross from what we would call the east of the North American continent into the west. Okay, and just a reminder again of the trail routes that they're using to do that. Okay, so you can see that the Donner Party are going to be basically starting out on the Oregon Trail here. Now they're trying to get across to California. They're going to attempt that journey, and the Mormons are going to follow this blue line here from Nauvoo in Illinois all the way to the Great Salt Lake, which you can see there. So let's just talk in general about the journey to the west and the experience of settler colonizers going into the to the west, and what problems did they face? Well, lots of issues. We reckon about 20,000 settlers died on this journey across the trail, many from accidents or from drowning. You had big river crossings to do, which were very, very dangerous. Some of these rivers are huge, very wide, very deep, and unsurprisingly, accidents certainly happened there. Cholera was a massive problem, as you'll know from your medicine studies. Cholera in the 19th century was killing lots of people in British cities and in European cities. It was also killing migrants moving into the West as well. They would use rivers for drinking water. They go to the toilet in that same water, in the rivers, and then drink from it, and so on. And of course, that spread disease. This is the 1840s. They don't really understand that cholera is a waterborne kind of bacteria that's causing problems for people's health. You needed to prepare, really intensely if you were going to make a success of this. You needed to go in a big group, so you had lots of people with different expertise, and you needed to start your journey in about April. And that was really important. You couldn't go earlier because it's still winter and it's going to be too hard. April, the spring's beginning. You've got therefore your livestock that you're bringing with you, your oxen that are carrying your wagons to eat the grass on the trip. You can bring provisions. You need expertise. You need people that can repair a wagon if it breaks. You need medical people to help you if you get sick on the journey. This journey can last around 6 months, so it's really important that you are part of a big group. And if any aspect of the preparation went wrong, of course you're going to have problems. Now, one thing that's important to note is that one of the fears of settlers was attacks by the Plains Indians as they crossed the Great Plains. They were feared by the settlers, but they were generally quite rare. In fact, many Plains Indians actually helped white settlers as they moved across to the west. But the whites were very fearful of the Indians and wanted more government protection. Of course, that feeds into things like the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851, which we'll discuss later on this term. Now, the Donner Party is the first example of a group that we're going to look at. They kind of symbolise the dangers of the Oregon Trail. They were a group of 300 migrants in 60 wagons, led by the Donner brothers, and they're aiming to get to California. But of course, they try and take this shortcut, the Hastings Cutoff, as I'm sure you'll know. And if you look at the PowerPoint, you can find a video link there at the bottom, which will kind of give you the story. They took the shortcut, and of course that actually ended up being a bad thing, and it extended their journey. What's also crucial is that it divided the group up. It divided the 300 migrants. So now they were in two smaller groups because they disagreed. Some didn't want to go that way, others did, and that of course weakened them further. And of course that Donner Party that did go through the Hastings Cutoff was stuck in the Sierra Nevada mountains from November to February. The Sierra Nevada mountains is the mountain range just on the perimeter of California. So you cross the Rockies and then you'll hit the Sierra Nevada mountains after that. Now, of the 80 that took this route, only half of that original 80 were left alive when they were rescued, and of course, many had to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. And it was a pretty awful experience for those involved. Now, contrasting to that are the Mormons. The Mormons, who were an alternative kind of Christian religious sect, basically, an offshoot of Christianity. This group had been founded by Joseph Smith in the 1820s, 1830s, and they'd experienced a lot of persecution, a lot of hassle in the eastern United States. Their final stop in the east was in Nauvoo in Illinois. Joseph Smith was killed there, and they were basically chased out of town. By this point, they'd started to practice polygamy, and Joseph Smith had even been talking about running for president. This had kind of really made the sort of kind of traditional residents of Nauvoo very, very unhappy. So, under the new leadership of Brigham Young, they decide to go to the Salt Lake Valley in Utah, or what's now known as Utah. And they chose that because, of course, it was seen as undesirable. It was seen as somewhere that no one else would want to go, and therefore was perfect for them. It was seen as barren. It's kind of very harsh conditions. It would be hard to grow things. And so they thought, this is a great area where we can go and be left alone, basically, to practice our religion as we want. Now, they start their journey in spring of 1846, but because they were chased out of Nauvoo in February, they have to leave kind of earlier than they want to. That means they have lots of problems getting stuck in snowdrifts, and having it kind of really slows them down quite heavily. And by June of 1846, they've only got to Omaha, which is kind of at the edge of the Great Plains. And they decide, well, look, we don't want to have a Donner Party style incident where we're setting off basically too late. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop at the winter quarters. We're going to set up our winter quarters. We're going to stay there until the following spring. You can see the picture on the right kind of shows you what that would look like. And then we'll make the journey properly in the following spring. And of course, it's Brigham Young that leads that journey. He leads that advance party of 150 Mormons to the Salt Lake, marking the route out, locating water sources, setting up river crossings and ferries to enable the remaining Mormons following behind to make the journey safely. And Brigham Young is obviously crucial to the survival of the Mormons and the journey, and that's certainly one of the questions that you could be asked about is what was his role in ensuring the survival of the Mormons as they migrated to the Great Salt Lake. And you can see there I've outlined a couple of sort of categories of points. So obviously what he does on the journey on the left, and then also how does he ensure that they establish this Salt Lake settlement? How do they ensure it survives? And this is where you've got obviously the irrigation systems being built from the streams in the mountains, so it's kind of diverting them down into the Salt Lake Valley. And of course, Mormon's leadership, his organizational skills, creating a series of settlements around the Salt Lake that focus on producing particular goods that were needed to survive. It was a really sophisticated operation, and the Salt Lake settlement quickly becomes one of the most thriving and successful settlements from the United States in the West. And built, in very, very kind of difficult circumstances, if you like, achieves kind of incredible success for the Mormon people as they migrated out there. Okay, so that's kind of all I'm going to say about the Donner Party and the Mormons. The next topic will be on the California Gold Rush.